Hello, my dears. It's September. It's Karen. I'm in the court. No, I'm not in the courtyard. I'm actually in the pollinating garden, and I'm sitting at the fountain. I'm really enjoying it. Wish you were here with me. Back in August, I went to our friend Tina's house and did a video of her garden, and she concentrated on different uses for things that we would ordinarily consider to be weeds. Things we can make tinctures and tea and bath herbs, all kinds of wonderful information. And at the end of this video, we will have information where you can actually download a little booklet that she created many years ago, and it's about eating weeds and weeds in your backyard. It's got a little green cover. So I highly recommend that you download that, and it's free, and I think you'll enjoy having it. It's a great place to start. So without further ado, here's Tina and her video called Eat Your Weedies. I hope you're all having a wonderful fall. Jim and I send you our love, our blessings, and look forward to being in touch with you again soon. Thank you so much for watching our video. Love you. Bye-bye.
Welcome to my garden here in northern Baltimore County. I don't have full sun, so I've learned how to grow plants I like to use that need more sun in containers. And I grow a lot of herbs because I like to use those in cooking. Right here is a Thai basil, and you can see that the pollinators, like bees, love this plant with all their lipped flowers. I like Thai basil in cucumbers and other kinds of dishes. And the taller plant on top there is in the hibiscus family. It's actually called black cottonage. So hibiscus, same family as okra, cotton, and the marshmallow plant, which is a wild plant. And I use that in my weed tea also, and I make a mallow water that's very good for stomach aches and things like that, very softening. All you do is soak the cut up marshmallow leaves in cool water overnight. Very simple. There's a built-in planter on the deck, which is great because it holds more moisture and doesn't dry out as much. So I can have some really sun-loving plants here like lemon thyme. And again, you can see all the little flowers that the pollinators like. So I always try to think about what else can take advantage of the plants that are growing here. They're not all native, but many pollinators will use these plants. And the salvias, see the red salvia flowers? Those are edible. I like to put them on top of like fruit salads. And the hummingbirds find those. They're very tuned into red. So I love to see them swoop in here. Here is some marjoram. One of my favorite herbs. It's a sweeter, softer flavor than oregano. I like to use it in chicken and fish. Marjoram is associated with the sea. Oh, and look! We have a little dragon here. See the praying mantis? So let's see what else. Oh, we have garlic chives here. They're getting ready to go to seed. It's a plant I use a lot in stir fry, cutting up the leaves, not usually cooking it, using it fresh. It's milder than garlic. Some people can't tolerate eating garlic, but this is usually will work for them. So I can use that in guacamole or things like that that some people wouldn't be able to eat with the garlic in it, regular garlic in it. It is a plant that reseeds, so if you don't want it to go all over your garden, it's important to cut those before they go to seed, and seeds mature and spread everywhere. I wouldn't call this an herb, but it's a plant the hummingbirds love so much. It's kufia, and so I pop it in here for the hummingbirds. You can see where it's just made for them with those tubular flowers. Here we go. Oh, a purple basil. That's a beautiful color to snip on top of things. And I like to make an opal basil, garlic, black pepper vinegar in the fall when I'm harvesting. Here's some sage. I like to use that more in the fall. It's a strong tasting plant, but it's it's really good for your throat. I make a remedy with sage and bee balm that is good in a glycerite formula. If you're getting any feeling of a cold coming on or a sore throat, fish. And here's a weed I really love called purslane. It's a portulaca. There's some cultivated portulacas. And it has, I think it's omega-3s. It has a lot of omega-3s. If you look at Middle Eastern cookbooks, you'll see recipes that include purslane. Usually use fresh, but I also pickle it. This is a plant that it never gets very vigorous here, but it's called savory. This is the summer savory. There's a winter one also that's perennial. This one is an annual. And it has a peppery almost taste. I like it in squash especially, and beans. In fact, in Germany and other parts of in that culture, it's called the bean herb because it's a really good complement for beans. Oh, here's another plant the hummingbirds like. I love to say the name of it. It's Amelia javanica. It's actually really a weedy little plant that if you're down in Florida, you'll see it growing all over the place. But it's, again, a hummingbird plant, not an edible plant. And this is in the morning glory plant, and you'll see one of the red flowers down here. Cardinal vine, another one for the hummingbirds. And if you look inside any morning glory, this is a smaller flower, you'll see a 5-pointed star. And you can wish on that one. So come on down into my weedy garden. You'll see here, this is a type of black-eyed Susan, a biennial one, which means that the first year it makes a rosette of flowers. Then the second year it starts to grow early in the season and gets tall, as you can see, and has lots of flowers. Another great plant for pollinators. And as you can see, I do have weeds because I eat the weeds. Here we have red clover, which I put in my weed tea every morning. I make a weed tea to increase the amount of minerals that are available in my diet. Even in organic soils, there are a lot of minerals that are missing in soil because of erosion and other problems. So I'm going to scoot through here. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this is a type of chickweed. There's a spring chickweed that might be more familiar to you, but this is chickweed, and that has a lot of silica in it. It's a very mild-tasting plant. You can chop it up if in your salad you're like. I add it to my weed tea and also to my bath herbs at night because it's very soothing for the skin. And here's the lettuce from the spring going to seed. And most people would have probably, cut it down by now, but I like to watch plants go to seed. I learned early on that I'm not really a production gardener. I just like to watch things grow. And again, the pollinators will like the lettuce seeds. And my lamb's quarter is one of my favorite plants. This is a very common weed and a very nutritious one. If you feel the back of it, it's grainy. You can see that I'm kind of wiping off. I'm not sure what those granular substances are, but that's one way to help identify it. It's in the beet family. And, in the summer, it's hard to have greens because a lot of things go to seed. Most of the spring greens go to seed once it gets hot and the daylight gets longer. But these, I can cut the tops off and steam them or blanch them and use them just like I would use spinach, cooked spinach. And I think it's better than spinach. And I don't know how it compares in nutrition specifically, but it's very, very high in nutrition. And my oats, I plant some oats every year. Milky oats are supposed to be very good for your nerves. Again, whatever minerals are in them, I've forgotten all the details. You can look it up. But I use that in my weed tea and also in my bath herbs. Let's see, coming around here. Oh, we have a fennel. Oh, and another praying mantis. When you're cleaning up your garden in the fall, be sure to look for the egg cases. I don't have one to show you now because they've all hatched. But I usually bring them in the winter, put them in the garage, bring them inside, because if not, it's quite likely that a lot of them would be eaten because they have larvae in there. And So this way I'm sure to have some praying mantises, and I do enjoy seeing them coming around. And then this one is called holy basil, Tulsi, or basil sanctum is the sanctum. It's the sacred basil of India. And it's not so much the same kind of culinary basil. It has a fruity kind of taste and smell. I like it on cantaloupe, in fruit salads. I love it in tea. And I make lots of different kinds of tonics with it, including like a facial toner, where I just chop the leaves and steep it in witch hazel and strain it out after about 6 weeks. And it's very good for your skin. Look up that plant, holy basil, and you'll find that in Ayurvedic tradition, and has a tremendous number of uses. It's called an adaptogen. It helps the body acclimate to stresses. Well, you'll see more weeds down here. Oh, but this is a very, it's a plant I used to really despair of in my garden because it will take over. It's ground ivy. I won't try to say the Latin name, but you can look it up. It's got many, I think it's glaucoma something. It's a plant that's been researched now. It's considered very invasive, but it has a lot of, Dr. Jim Duke, who did a lot of research on herbs, he had the kind of equipment where he could determine the nutritive substances in plants, all the chemical compounds. Determine that this plant, he didn't know necessarily what it was for, but that it had such a wide variety of phytochemicals, so he was sure it was useful for something. I've always put a few leaves in my weed tea and also in my bath herbs at night. I just, at the end of the day, I just walk around and snip off whatever's would be nice for the bath, things that smell good, things that are good for the skin. And ground ivy is one of those things. It's a wound wash, it's considered. So any minor irritation for the skin, it would be soothing for. Ground ivy, it goes by many common names. Creeping Charlie is another common one, I believe. But common names are, the reason it's important to be more specific about naming plants, especially if you're going to eat them, is that common names are different in different parts of the country. So somebody else I've heard it called gill over the ground. Many, many names. If you look it up, you'll probably see a whole paragraph of common names. This is cosmos, the orange cosmos. As you know, cosmos comes in many colors. The pollinators do like that plant. Here's another one of those Amelia javanicas growing in here. And then down here are violets. Violets usually bloom in the spring. These are blue violets. And the leaves of violets I put in my weed tea and my bath herbs. They have, they're very good for the skin. Here's another purslane plant. We talked about that earlier, which is, it's very succulent looking. It looks a lot like jade plants that people have inside, but it's a portulaca. This is a plant that I'm not sure where it's native to, perhaps Asia. It's called perilla. And these purple leaves are used in making vinegars and things like that. And there's a green perilla that if you get a sushi plate in a really authentic sushi restaurant that is used and served with the fish, it has a very unique taste. I like this one more for the color. I can't say I particularly like the flavor of it. It's kind of coarse. Here's a plant called self-heal, another one in the mint family with a very square stem. And you can see new flowers coming on. I could trim these and have more flowers coming, but I haven't gotten to that. I don't know if this is a native plant, but this just came up here in my soil with conditions. But self-heal, just as the name implies, is a plant that has healing uses. I always put a few flowers in my wheat tea and in my bath herbs. And I also have used a flower essence made of self-heal. The company where I studied, or the research institute where I studied flower essences, called the Flower Essence Society, makes a cream called Self-Heal Cream that's just lovely. Here's another very common weed, which is called plantain. I'm sure you've seen this plant with its wide leaves and the seed pods here forming. This is a good plant for everyone to know. It's so common. You can find it anywhere in the city, in the country, on the side of the road. And one of its very special characteristics is that the leaf has whatever its chemical compounds are, helps draw things out. So if you have a splinter that you can't get out, you can rub a couple leaves together, or even juice them and wrap them over that splinter. And within a couple hours, that splinter will probably come out. It's also, or be easier to get out with a little, with whatever tool you're using to get it out. The other important use for plantain is for bee sting. If you get stung by a bee or a hornet, rub this leaf together or chew it up and then smear it over the sting, and it will help draw that stinging feeling out. It's a very useful plant. And there are, commercial herbal remedies made making plantain salve. And you can find that in your own backyard. I've been talking about making a daily weed tea, and all I do in the morning is go out and pluck lots of different herbs. This is a mint right here, a really strong one called chocolate mint. And I just put them in my teapot here. So I have red clover, anise hyssop, oats, alfalfa, different kinds of mints, marshmallow, whatever's in season. In the spring, I would have dandelion greens. Oh, there's some chickweed in here too, the later blooming chickweed. And some ground ivy. Remember I talked about creeping Jenny, ground ivy. So I let the water come to a boil, put the herbs in, and let it steep for at least 20 minutes. I let all those greens just sit there all day and just strain it out as I'm drinking it. It will, turn sour overnight. So if you have some left over, you can put it in the refrigerator. And if you make tinctures or use tinctures, you can add your tinctures right to that. I usually make some from roots like burdock in the fall that have a lot of minerals too and are good for cleansing the liver. So when the water boils, I just add the tinctures to that and I'm good for the day. I'd love for you to enjoy my little book called The Salad Bar in Your Own Backyard. When I was introducing people to weeds, I realized that it was kind of overwhelming. There's so many weeds. Which ones to start with? How can I know all of them? But you don't need to know all of them. You can just learn a couple. And you probably already know a few of these in my little book. So this book will be a good place to start with your Eat the Weedies garden. Well, thanks for visiting my garden. Coming up next, you'll see a slide that gives you directions to my website and some other work I do too. There's also a little book in there called A Light in the Night about a magical plant that opens up at dusk.